What's up? I guess it doesn't count as a message. Yeah. Yeah. What's up? There we go. Sorry. Got it. How's everybody doing tonight? Happy Monday. Hi, Tut. Hi, honey. Hi, Turtle. Also, Tut, I didn't tell Princess what time I was going to start, and she legit stole first. Just saying, man. She stole first on a Monday. What? What's up, baby? Hello. What's good? Okay, before I get started, I realized I forgot to grab a bottle of water. Give me just a moment. I'm going to run downstairs, grab a bottle of water, and run right back up. So, yeah. Anyway, what's new? Hey, you go. Not much. Been lost in Crimson Desert and Windrose. What is new is that I worked on a new game with a run with a group of friends. What kind of game? We talking like tabletop role play? Are we talking about super secret project that can't say anything? Is it a video game? Yeah, I saw you got on Windrose. Oh, Windrose. Okay, yeah. It's the pirate Valheim. Right. It's a video game. Oh, sweet. Yes. Avi, please do. Please do. I would love to see it. Also, uh-oh. You go, what I missed? Oh, nothing. Didn't miss anything. Did you guys notice that Avi worked on a video game with friends, with a group of friends, and didn't ask me to voice act? Uh, I'll send you a link in Discord. Hey, I'm taking a new class, making a game. Mind looking at this? Uh, well, I'm just gonna make sure it's Avi before. Oh yeah. I will clearly make sure it's Avi before I click any links. To be fair, the very few lines were added last minute. I did suggest they added voice acting, and that I knew someone, and that someone's name was Ted. Yeah, it is. Oh my good, Cassidy? Oh my goodness. What? No, also no, my name is not Ted. Oh, you're welcome, Cassidy. You're very welcome. Yeah, honestly, the same. So I'm gonna type out. I know your name thanks to Phoenix. Ah. So my work schedule, I will type out my work schedule too. Oh, my schedule just changed. Well, my schedule didn't change. What I'm doing changed. Yeah, most people shouldn't know my last name. Hmm. Sorry, I'm having chicken, and it's got a heaping helping of skin. Okay, let's see here. Yes. Turtle, yes, absolutely. I'm used to calling you Crimmy, so that's what I do. I'm the embodiment of the PayPal. I do not see your details. Me, yeah, yeah. Okay, so today is the 20th. So here's my schedule. Let's see here. Huh? All right, let's see here. 27. Yeah, so that's how much my schedule changes day to day. And because of that, I miss a lot of streams in the community. I don't get to hang out with people as often because I'm all over the place. So yeah, when I say my schedule changes a lot, I mean it's different every day. That's my work schedule from tomorrow to the first. Huh. So what happens in my line of work? Full timers have to have open availability, which means we have to be available to work from we open at 7, but we get there at 6:30. On very, very, very rare occasion, and I mean very rare occasion, we go in at 6 a.m. and we close at 9 p.m. Well, depending on what you're scheduled to do at the end of the night, we're going to close. They might schedule out 9:45. Now, keep in mind, because this is retail, that does not just because it says I'm scheduled off at 10 p.m. does not mean I'm going to be leaving at 10 p.m. Or if I'm scheduled off at 9:45, does not mean I'm out at that time. That means that's what I'm supposed to go on. But that changes. Yeah, it's okay. I signed up for it. And having open availability, we have to be able to cover as full timers any stretch where we don't have coverage as because my role is customer service staff. And customer service staff, we're like supervisors. So we do small bits, and I mean small, very small bits of accounting work and bookkeeping. So we open and close the store from a money perspective. You know, we do all the computer work in the back there. So you'll have people in your store that are doing certain things. There's also floor care at the end of the night. There's just a bunch of stuff that happens. So we can be all over the place, and depending on who's available on what days, requests off and whatnot. That's why everything changes so much. I my shortest shift that I usually ever have is 7 hours, and that's usually 7.5 is the shortest I get. But yeah, 8 to 10 hours is yes. Um, My longest shift there I've done has been 12 and a half maybe. And I've even done where I close the night before and open the next morning. I'm not the only one who has. Other people have. Even managers have done it. It's not common, but it happens. So yeah, when I say that I miss you guys, this is why. Yep. So yeah, like this isn't a matter of me trying to complain to you guys. I just want you to, it's another, since I care a lot about integrity and communication, there's an exact example. And that's just work. That's not anything else I have going on in the day as well. So if there's like errands that have to be done, which is not common, or appointments, I don't want to call them random interruptions, but just things that happen. It changes from time to time. Like I haven't consistently caught a single streamer's stream in a while. Because like my stream streak with Tug is gone. With Manic, maybe? I don't know. I know I've lost it at least once or twice. Excuse me. Hey, when my wife was my girlfriend, she worked at Macy's. When I worked at Macy's before we moved, there were times I had back-to-back closings off at 9:15 p.m. or Africa's customers kept it longer. Exactly, you get it. Hard to sleep after work because body won't wind down. There are some days, yes. Thankfully, this is one reason why I don't want to transfer to another store. So our store closes at 9. Almost every other store closes at 10. I miss Manic too. I've kept in touch with him throughout this whole thing a little bit. We've talked on and off. He's doing all right. As you said, he's working. But yeah, I understand the retail life, Cassidy. It's crazy times. And you would think that businesses would work around their full-timers and plug in part-timers. But as full-timers, we have to open availability. Part-timers can set their availability and days that they want to work. Now, one of the perks of being full-time, you get 40 hours. Part-timers aren't guaranteed, not guaranteed anything. So, I'm glad to hear that about Neens. I really did feel so sorry for her. Also, being on the East Coast, the West Coast is multiple hours behind. So when some of these West Coast streamers go live at their time, 9 o'clock at night or whatever, 8 o'clock, it's 11 for me. Yeah, it's 7:47 here. So I get home from work, say 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, ugh. Yeah. You gotta call me out like that? Of course I am. Duh. Yeah, so if you go live at 8 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock where I'm at. Well, yeah, it is self-care. It is. Okay, that's fair. For AV, it's She's in the AMs right now. My stream is so yesterday. Yeah, Jack is almost always streaming when I'm at work. Almost always. I have missed probably his last 5 or 6 streams. You know, I noticed that I get notifications for Izzy's streams when I'm at work. I'm like, well, there goes that one. Hey, Avi. Where is this a download? Or is there a trailer for this? Yeah, most times mine are evenings because most of the time that's when I'm free of adulting. Yesterday it was an unplanned 12-hour my 4 a.m. work shift to throw things off. Now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm trying to get on. There's a company I'm trying to get on with, but they're not hiring. So kind of hard to, get a job when they're not hiring. But I have income now, so I'm not exactly stressing about it. Not that I was stressing before, but I was more angry. But a buddy of mine works there, and his shifts are 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Like, man. Oh, it's a browser game. Oh. Yeah. Well, this company, they do I don't know what you make full time, but I know when he was a contractor and he was a 1099 working for them, he was making 30 an hour. Oh, dude, 4 10s with a third day off? Yeah. Yeah. That'd be great. But keep in mind, it was 30 an hour, but you have to do your own taxes, and it wasn't full time hours. It was between 20, or sometimes it was like 12, and sometimes it was 30. So, like, the pay is good, but you got to remember the hours may not be there. But full time is less because you're getting, they're paying the taxes and those things and insurance and such. Top pay for you guys is like 35. Don't have the certs, bro. Don't have all the certs, bro. Hmm. Hey, there you go. Well, it also depends on how much the certifications cost. Because, like, say for example, a certification costs $300. You get $1 an hour. Well, if each certification, these are just numbers, not accurate. We'll say 250. So two certifications, $500. You get $1 an hour. You got to work 500 hours before you see that pay come back. You know, new boss is pushing us to get more because he doesn't want people like me who coast on a couple of easy certs. I mean, I guess the thing about certifications is that you can take them anywhere. So if you're interested in the work, why not have them? You know, so you have 3 of the 8. I mean, if you've been in the job for 8 years, you may not want to stay there, but the likelihood of it being a longer, continued longer, not only say career, but commitment. Why not make more while you're there? I mean, sure. If someone who makes $100,000 a year is told, "Hey, we'll give you a $2,000 raise for the year," you're like, "All right." But if someone who's making 40,000, it's a $2,000 raise, a little more substantial. There are some positions I am flat out not interested in. Some I'm being petty and don't want to work with some of the guys in that area. I didn't originally want the potential landslide of overtime caused by being low man for positions. And frankly, besides the truck, no, I'm not motivated to try hard for a job that doesn't try hard for me. I get that. I do. I understand not wanting to pour into things that don't pour into you. I get that. But if you have the capability to make things better there for everyone, I think you should. I mean, that's understandable. I took too big of a bite. I guess my thought would be if those certifications could land you somewhere where you'd want to be, why not go after it? If they're Friday 10s at 30 plus an hour, say less. Well, when you have more certifications and show the knowledge that you can bring to the table, you can leverage that a little more. Maybe not where you are right now, but when you start looking, like, hey, I have these certifications. You know that I'll say this, I know that you know the industry better than I do. So yeah, it's like one of my best friends. Uh, he was a CNC programmer, and he was a programmer, did a bunch of machining as well, and then eventually became an engineer because of his experience, not because of his training in in through collegiate studies. Mm. Okay, the qualifications for the most bare bones of tasks. They're not certifications like the NCCER, welding, or fabrication. Okay, all right, I misunderstood then. Gotcha. Yeah, one of the things that makes my job difficult is the hours that I have to wake up. There are days I can sleep in, it's great, and there are days I have to at 5:30 in the morning. I can say I have a locomotive cert, but it's not the same on the same level as to qualify for working mainline rail through Union Pacific or the like. My cousin used to work for CN, and he made really good money. Hey, Peril, what's up, dude? Hey, Tut. If you get a second, will you try the Super Lure command? How's it going, Peril? I hope you're well. I've missed hanging out with you. Good call, honey. A vampire. Vampire. I can see how barge loading, drum cutting, and crane operation would carry over, but I'm not sure about loadout or dump. Yeah, now I understand the specificity. Like I didn't realize it was those kind of certifications. I can get out of chemical plants. That was perfect. Well, I don't remember. I don't remember what railroad my cousin worked for out there in Texas. He's my cousin. He was like my best friend and brother, growing up. The doors open from the inside. What? Sometimes they're locked. Sometimes they don't open from this side. That would come with a pretty drastic lifestyle change. It's doable, just lots of changes. Okay, we've got time before the next ad. All right, good. I about started outward instead of Liza P. Whoops. So you go, what would you want to do? If I may ask, I'm curious now. What would you want to do? The obvious route for people to advance here is to go for management or supervisor roles, which I have little want for, or to take this experience and take the classes for process operator and go work for a plant directly and make 40 to 50. Describe a specific job I'd want because I can't specify what I would want to be. So is it a matter of the job doesn't exist or you don't know how to describe it? Or is this a matter of a Bilbo meme going, all right then, keep your secrets. Krat Zoo, bless you. Oh, hey. My family, my everything.
bastard. I'll kill him.
Who says you can't show emotion through a mask? Looks like a bloody good time. Cassidy, that's awful.
This can't be. Are all those humans? Just how evil does someone have to be to do something like this?
Listen, I want to work 10-hour shifts, max 5 days a week, around my same rate, holiday pay, PTO, good benefits, go home clean, being valued and respected at my company. Also away from plants or hazards of chemical release, explosions, severe injury through equipment and operation. Fair. Dang, that's kind of sharp. If industries weren't crap, or if it paid well enough, because I'd be a voice actor. I had a talent for it. Script writer of some kind, something involved with video games maybe. Like a pitch guy, YouTube dude who does game reviews or retrospectives, Top Gear Grand Tour presenter. Finding secondary jobs, even as a part-time, even part of the cover, being part-time can be hard. Want full-time? Yeah, right? Yeah, full-time and it being one job. But, yeah, difficult to find. I know that feeling. Because the problem is like you may find a second part-time job, but inevitably the one that pays you more is gonna be the one that gets priority. Worst part is now that companies are investing in AI and value of human workers is plummeting. For a time.
Hello. Rosora wants to be your friend. Will you be my friend?
You know what? Needs to fail sooner than later because it will fail.
Hello. Rosora wants to be your friend. Will you be my friend? Rosora wants to be free. But I need my shoes to do that. Please, please help me travel the world. Help me to hold your hand and dance.
Aww.
I will wait for you here. I have a precious friend. I miss that friend dearly. We played all the time at the Rose Estate. Our hearts were filled with joy. Rosora wants to see her friend again. That's why I have to go back there.
Yeah, it's really not cheaper though. That's the sad part.
Rosora was locked in a birdcage. I don't know how long I was there. A white butterfly woke me up and freed me. And I followed here. But I lost my shoes while I was running. I don't know where they came off.
Okay.
Rosora was lost. Oh, but I want to go back to Please. I will wait for you.
Almost sounds like Matean from Final Fantasy XIV. I don't know who that is. Irony is that the economy thrives on consumers, but reducing employees reduces consumers, which is less people willing to spend on products. Yeah, it's one of those things, exactly. When you have a consumerism and you lose the consumers, well, you kind of messed up there, buddy. All right, she was in a bird cage when she was running all the way there. Companies don't care about that. They just want wealth looking forward in their lifetime. Yeah, I don't think later. Which direction did she run, though? It's a sad state of affairs. Businesses don't run without the human element. You lose that, you eventually will lose the company. The sooner that becomes the norm in thought processes, you'll see a change. But until that changes, not much is going to change.
Oh, the Carnival Garden. The tram station's that way. I think it's our best chance of getting out of here.
What?
No? Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. Well, that was fun. Man, the web's died. I'm glad you're back. Look, a red one. Microsoft will. Speaking of a corporation, but Xbox has been a cash fire for the last 20 years. Yeah. Do you wonder why? Tell your interwebs not to die. It's not allowed. Sorry, you can't. No more. Almost hither. Door doesn't open from this side. Oh. Push a button. Yeah. Button does not press from this side. Oh. That's a big boy. Oh, I got lucky on that one. Sure got lucky. Whew. Some games reached European Parliament. It looks like they've gained some support. Nope. Nope. Oh, yeah, buddy. Nobody. You remember this guy? Broke your rattle. Oh, I actually got the parry on that? Let's go. Stylish. You go, I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you. And my biggest flex was that I beat the first boss in Dark Souls 3 with no hits. I mean, that's good, Yugo. That's a good one. That was cool. I don't think I've ever seen that. Gundyr was such a great boss. You know, I couldn't get past the stairs. The stairs boulder in Dark Souls 1. Beat the fat demon Dark Souls 1 with no gear or Estus. That is pretty tedious. That boss fight, ugh. Your stuff breaks so easily in that game. Especially in 2. One, two, roll 1, 2, yeah. Hey, when you get the patterns down, man, some of those bosses become a joke. Oh, that's nightmare fuel. Yeah, that's a little better. Enough to get the first couple bosses easy. Capra Demon's the worst. I mean, I don't know. I think honestly, probably the only arguably worse location for a boss is the oh goodness, I forgot his name. It's like the not Forge Demon. It's the guy you fight in the lava, because there's the 2 pits you can fall in and just instantly die. I like the boss, but I think that one's worse. In my opinion, it's worse. Yeah, it's the one where he walks across the lava and you fight him on a platform. Yes, too.
If it isn't a stalker, play acting the hero who saves the world, huh? Meanwhile, I have chosen instead to simply look upon this ruined world from this grand little vantage point. Really add some zest and extravagance to my tea time. But this situation really hasn't helped the costs of my already expensive hobby. So, a transaction is always welcome.
What you got? Black Rabbit Hole Key. Survival Amulet. Interesting. Oh, I'm gonna go through Dark Souls 2 again. So I need 15.3. Get it?
That is a key, yes. A key to one of the Black Rabbit Brotherhood's hideouts. I assume a member of the Brotherhood dropped it somewhere. But only a fool or a lunatic would loiter around one of their hideouts. So, no. It isn't selling all that well, actually.
I think I did the same thing when I did the Souls games as I did with Atlas games, but a bunch of the titles because I like specific one game and can't be bothered to finish the rest. I started with Dark Souls 2. I did 2, 3, then went back to 1.
The stage is set. Now, be our guest. Step right up and do your best.
Okay.
The festival lights are all aglow. Just have fun and go with the flow.
Oh, thanks. I didn't need that, but thank you. I really like the Souls games. You go, so like it's not a commitment, it's more of an excitement.
Locked. We'll need the key. I saw something earlier at the top of the carousel that caught my eye. But how to get up there? The Ferris wheel. That could work, right?
Morning, Nobunaga.
Don't go back. That's the ticket. Land your best moves and really stick it.
I pushed the button on the right side. I do like the hack and slash games a lot, but I like the formula of these games. Step right up and throw what you've got. Knock down the clowns and claim the prize. That work? Oh. You just couldn't get into the Bayonetta series? Or just the whole series or that one? Okay, hold up. I gotta see this stuff. Dang, I like that. Oh yeah, I gotta use this for a little while. Oh, you didn't try the others? Okay. That's fair. Okay, yeah, those guys need the You forgot the claws are a boss weapon? Hi, Kate. I like Dynasty Warriors. You know who got me into Dynasty Warriors? My wife. Man. Darksiders 1 was a fantastic game. 2 was okay. I didn't play 3. It's one of those games that I want to play, but I never did. No. Point? Ah. Okay, so even... Faster weapon. Yeah, buddy. Now I've got time to prepare. That's how you do it. Oh! What in the world is this? What? Okay. What? Okay, so So if I keep moving... Huh.
Even this place was prettier and happier back in the day.
It's right. Spin to win. This is an interesting weapon. Cool. Ah, what? Oh, for crap. I mean, I died. First person, third person, action adventure, tactical military shooters, brawlers, hack and slash, arcade racers, extreme sports races, GTA type, survival horror, sci-fi, cyberpunk, some medieval. A weird one. Yeah. And that's okay. RPGs are a hit and miss depending. Yes, agreed. That's the one. Ow. It again. Yeah, it really does depend, Hugo. I agree. It's not all RPGs are good. It took my wife and I a long time to get into Outward. We've been playing that together, and it's fun now. But man, the beginning, it was rough. Like, neither one of us were having fun in the very beginning, but I was like, all right, look. This game has a lot going on. Let me figure it out. And once I finally kind of figured some things out, it made a big difference, and now we're both having a good time. Excuse you. I've put a lot of work into getting you a character that you like. Good grief. No. Your slow burn on Fallout 4. Well, a lot of the stuff with oh, found him. I got your shoe. All right, nope. Triple kill. The games that cannot and will not do anymore are live service, multiplayer, live service, multiplayer only, MMO, survival games, farming sims, community builders, cozy games, Minecraft, card games, super scary psycho horror, job simulators, and walking simulators, or indie heavy narrative games where you do nothing. We all have our styles. Maybe not that you play, Tut.
I need my shoes to be free. Oh, you found my shoes. Thank you. Rizora is so happy. Now I can run. I can dance. I can go anywhere. I can go back to the Rose Estate. You gave me back my freedom. So here's a present for you. It's called Rizora's Treasure. No matter where I end up, I'll remember you. The friend who helped free Rizora. I'll go to the Rose Estate now. With each step the shoes and I take, I'll think of you.
Aww.
My new friend.
Oh!
No matter where I am, I'll go to the Roses.
Let's go listen to the song. The Nightmare Hotel. I really like that. I really like that song a lot. As you can probably guess, there hasn't been much that I've been interested in the past 15 years. I'm not into survival stuff, but in Fallout 4, it's a good challenge that let me think more about my resources. I will say there are some outliers that Twitch friends got me into, but overall, my kind of games have been left in the early 2000s for the most part. Yeah, about how fast I die if I'm careless. But trying a survival mode in Final Fantasy IV too, but just doesn't hit the same as hardcore in New Vegas. Same for survival in Skyrim. I don't know how to explain it, but New Vegas feels like it was made for hardcore mode. The Skyrim and Fallout 4 don't feel like they natively support a survival mode, if that makes sense. It does.
No matter where I'll go to the...
Thanks for the gift. I like that song. That was so pretty. I gotta keep. Yeah. Sorry, I had to... My mind just went blank. I was like, where am I supposed to go? Nailed it. Oh, I can't stand that. That is one thing about survival games I do not like. I do not like the hot and cold mechanic in most of these games. I just don't. What I would rather have is some kind of how do I put this? Oh. I don't want to say a level up system, but instead of it being like, oh, hey, you need to craft this kind of resistance or this kind of resistance to go here. Ow. That guy's decked out. Daggone. Okay, that was cool. Dude hits like a truck. Oh yeah, swimming outdoors, you risk diseases, yeah. Yeah, there are some survival mechanics I just don't care for. When I played Once Human, my least favorite mechanic was the hot and cold resistance in the Way of Winter thing. At least they did it to where, you know, you added it to the gear, and it wasn't like you had to get a specific set of gear. That was better. But yeah, when you've got a build, you don't want to mess it up just because you have to wear hot and cold resist. It's one of the things I can't about Outward that drives me nuts. Thankfully, they do have like potions and things that you can, and spells you can use in order to not deal with elements as much. But it's still like, even then, it's still a little frustrating. What I would rather have, and this is just me as a gamer talking, what I would rather have instead of hot and cold resistance would be some kind of staple in the game that causes I don't want to say disease. That's too easy. But something that, as your gear increases, you get more resistance to it. And until you have enough resistance, you know, you take, like, extra damage. So, say, for example, I wanted to go to the volcano area. Instead of having to have fire resistance gear, I have to have a certain resistance, like just my gear quality itself, a certain quality to give me enough resistance to that area, or I risk taking more damage. So I can still go there. I'm not going to outright die, but I might get one shot, because then that's on me, not on the game. You know, does that make sense? Major complaint about Fallout 4 is the over-reliance on town crafting and building communities. Okay, Nobunaga, have fun. Oh, this is where I want to go. Wait. Oh, this isn't fun. Okay, you're really cool. Ow. Perfect. Not perfect. All right, come on. That's bad. That's really bad. I like weapon and armor crafting and cooking in the games, but I hate having to build settlements and defenses, especially when the main quest demands it. For me, what's more fun than building the settlements is defending the NPCs while they do it. Like, basically, you set them free and now they can work. Ow. To me, that's just such a sweet combo. $3,500 damage? It's like not even a dent was made into him. Jeez. That's... Nope. do like the fire juggler, but okay, that was a cool finish. Honestly, I actually really enjoyed Valheim. Playing that with Princess was a great time. This open was really fun. I really enjoyed the pinwheel. Good time. Now I gotta remember how to get where I was. Oh, I remember now.
Always happy.
Anything else you got? No?
The stage is set. Now, be August. Step right up and do your best.
Already got one. I really do want to get you. I would love to play in Shrouded with you. Gotta get enough money to get a new computer. Wait.
Oh, now that's what I call a dance number. Come on, let's see your best moves.
Okay.
The festival lights are all aglow. Just a fun thing.
Oh, there's the gate right there. Yeesh. Hey, look! A train.
Hello? Is someone there?
Yes. No!
You there?
Oh.
I hear you. Can you help an old blind lady? This easel before me. It's not supposed to be empty, is it? Do you see a painting on the ground? It's mine. Pick it up and give it to me. Quickly. Even though I can't see, I can tell from the feel of the canvas. Oh, thank the heavens. This is my painting. It is very precious to me. Since losing my sight, this piece has given me courage. I'm sure you would love to hear my story.
Nope.
Once, I was a high-ranking alchemist, with a dream and a purpose. I dedicated my life to the cause of human evolution. Unfortunately, I suffered an accident in the laboratory. The incident damaged my eyes. I could no longer work. But the accident turned out to be a blessing. Stumbling in the dark, I found a painting that revealed the path of truth through art. What do you think? What do you see when you look at my painting? You have a good eye. This painting inspired me greatly. I lost my sight, but I see the path I must walk. You know, the world is a dark, cold, and isolating place. However, I am attuned. I tread the path. I will find the light, the brilliance that illuminates art. I tread the path.
There's a cat! Where'd the cat come from? Wait. Is this Hotel Krat in the past? Is that my cat?
Hotel Krat. I know, I still can't believe it myself. This must be before the grand opening.
It's still there. That moment fires at the perfect moment while charging. So I have enough to do counterattack and charge dodge. I'm gonna leave this one unupgraded, I think. Oh. Okay, hold on. This is cool. Okay, so this one temporarily increases slashing and stabbing damage. Okay.
Well, well, a stalker. Or so I assume, judging by your attire and demeanor. And
Lumacchio.
yet your face is unknown to me. To me, ridiculous. You're a sweeper, perhaps? But no matter. Ignorant fools say that we are adversaries, but in truth, our relationship is not that hostile. I do so look forward to working with you. Have you something to say? I beg your pardon? What year is it? Are you under the influence of some strange medication? You may well want to study the provenance of your petrification cure. A word to the wise, don't trust any medicine that an alchemist doesn't hand to you personally. The Monad Charity House. You've heard of the Rose Estate? That's where you'll find your cure. Romeo? Never heard of him. Oh, the sidekick. The legendary stalker's young apprentice, I suppose. He could be the reason she's been so on edge of late. Red hair. Red hair. Could you be speaking of Leia Florence? Why didn't you just say so? If you're looking for the legendary stalker, you should just come out with it. But, if I may ask, what could you possibly want with a living legend? Perhaps you've heard the tale of the Blood Artist. Just one of the monikers of a murderous puppet that targeted only the upper crust of society. It was a dreadful affair. Many a stalker tried to apprehend the Blood Artist, only to die by his blade. But he was no match for one in particular, who took him down on her own. The stalker not only beat the Blood Artist in single combat, but she utterly dismantled him. And she goes by the rather pedestrian name, Leia Florence. Though most everyone just calls her by the loftier moniker, the legendary stalker. Help her, you say? Yes, she was here. But she took that lift, headed down. Simply said she had something to take care of, but heaven knows what that could be. Perhaps she's gone to slay that poor, crazed lunatic. The one afflicted with the petrification disease. She is the legendary stalker after all.
Legendary.
There's a reason they say only merciful death remains in her wake.
Thank you. Hey.
Oh, goodness. A new face appears. How do things fare outside, Master Stalker? Let me introduce myself. I am Klaus, merchant extraordinaire and collector of rare ergo. Indeed, you'll be hard-pressed to find a merchant more skilled than I in the handling of all precious goods. You're lucky to find me in a place such as this. A rather uncouth stalker simply dumped me here and left. The world is crumbling before our eyes, and so are people's manners, it seems. As a merchant, it is quite frustrating being stuck inside this empty hotel. I
Banshee.
beg of you, regale me with news of the city when you can, and perhaps buy something, huh?
You might be a cheetah. Pretty ancient discs. Yeah, everyone does. It's just on cooldown. Alright, we're gonna... I'm about to get a piece of cake, but I hit her when I heard the call. My dearest Geppetto, it is my duty to bring you the regrettable news of Camille's death. Reports indicate the job was proceeding as planned when a catastrophic chemical leak occurred, leading to a colossal mortality event. There were no survivors. Due to ongoing toxicity at the site, search and recovery operations have been called off. I cannot describe how much it pains me to deliver this news to you, my friend. Camille shone brightly with the light of genius. All of us, all of Krat, have lost a brilliant star. The Order will provide complete support for the funeral arrangements of Camille and her assistants. Mere currency cannot ever equal the friendship Camille showed us, but we hope you will accept this as a sincere gesture of sympathy for your loss. May trust and friendship between the workshop and the Order never falter. Respectfully, Valentinus Monad, Chief Alchemist of the Isle. That song makes you want to learn how to play the accordion. Oh. Aw, I have the youngest, Matt. Delivery receipt? The Ergo box has been delivered to the Zelator underground facility. No issues with compensation. P.S. Little brother lost the key again in the underground facility. Scold him, big brother. Stop losing your key and stop picking the locks. I'm going to be very irritated if I find broken locks everywhere. The key is in your pocket, right where I put it. So will you stop losing it? I'll kill you if you lose this one as well. Or at least start deducting the cost from your allowance. Big brother, I found 3 of your keys in my room. Take them. Wait.
I'm showing off the cake. See? And then I brought you a mug of banana pudding.
Yes.
There you go. Mwah.
Big brother, I found 3 of your keys in my room. Take them. Wait, why are your keys in my room anyway? You idiot.
I want to go eat my cake. Hi, Banshee.
Okay. Go eat your cake. I know, she is pretty. Duh.
We planted the seed, but I wonder what'll grow from it. I've never seen anything like it, and it could be a long time before it sprouts.
Yeah, we've been together for over 17 years. Y'all are amazing, and let no one tell you otherwise, or else I got the bonk stick. We'll go hunting. All right, Cassie, I like that. Yeah, my wife and I, we've been married for over 16 years, together for over 17. Not bad. Not at all. I appreciate you guys. Wait. Was ist? Wait, what? No, I like sword gray. Wait, what? 100 down to earth. 100 amazing saucepans. She doesn't even know the story. It is, yeah, it is completely PG. Love, commitment, and stubbornness. No, story about saucepans. Ironically, yeah, there's a saucepan story. Honey, how long had we been married at that point? 2 years, maybe. Yeah, because we were living in Springfield. We were living in the rental house. Because we went to eat at the. I caught you on your lunch break. We went to the sports bar that was downtown. That's what I was thinking. It was in like the second year of our marriage, first or second year, because I'm trying to remember why I was dressed up. Maybe. No. Was I writing home mortgages then? Was that? I don't remember what job I had. But yeah, we met downtown for lunch at this. It was a pub sports bar, exactly as she said. We were both dressed up. I ordered a French dip. Yep. Sure did. I can't remember what I did. If I was reaching for something, I grabbed something, whatever. I hit the au jus. It spilled all over my pant leg. I was even wearing kind of this like a dark beige. I mean, I guess they were like a darker tan. And I, immediately I'm trying to sop all the sauce stuff off my pants. It stained those pants. Even after we washed it, that, pretty much. Yeah, au jus went everywhere, all over the pants, permanently stained them. So sauce pants. And I haven't had a French dip since. It's been probably 14, 15 years since I've had a French dip. Nope. 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 Ruined a pair of my pants. Nope. Ooh. You can deny yourself such as getting harder to find good friendships. Well, here's the thing, Cassidy. I use Dean's. It might be a French onion dip, but it's still a French dip. Yo, Vacky, what's up, dude? Doesn't French onion sound good? Nah, dude, Dean's. You got a food coma? What'd you have, man? Oh. I made bacon wrapped chicken legs, sweet chili sauce. Ooh. 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 Okay, Banshee. Cassidy, you know why? It's pre-wine. Dad made stir fry with noodles and veggies, and Dad and I made fried wings. Oh, sounds delicious. Now that I'm back in my apartment, I'm getting back into cooking. Faint scent of cherries. We are still friends, so I'm writing you in that spirit. The tour is finished without trouble. The best part of it was visiting home again. The child also liked his father's hometown best. He'll make an excellent pianist, you know, unless he follows in his parents' footsteps and walks a more technical path. Whatever lies ahead, the only thing about which I'm certain, he needs his father. Of course, I hope poor Camille finds peace. We all miss her. Carlo, most of all. He needs you, Giuseppe. He's a splendid boy. If he resented you once, he understands now. He wants to be with his father. You can't lock yourself away forever. Please, Return to your family. A less civilized woman would have wrapped this letter around a cannonball and fired it into the heart of your worship. But I am civilized and serious. The child waits you. Please choose wisely with your heart. Sincerely yours, Antonia. My dearest Antonia, I am truly grateful that you continue to care for my son. Please invoice me for all the tour expenses incurred, and you will be fully compensated. Sincerely, Geppetto, the workshop. Sorry, that's funny. Oh, man. Like after everything, and for some reason thought it was mixed with Brussels sprouts, and thus my confuzzlement. 5-hour road trip, make some bacon again. I think I might actually try this again with chicken thighs or cutlets and don't get in French onion dip. Father of the year. Welcome back, Peril. I got the master key. I have so many anime video game themed cookbooks I was gifted and haven't made much of them yet, but so many recipes I want to make. Oh, my wife's done the same thing. She's bought those and we haven't made hardly anything from them.
Could that be Leia? No one in our time knows how she disappeared or how she died, even if she died. Here's hoping it's got nothing to do with this deeply disturbing alchemist facility, at least.
Oh, that's good. So what did you do? No bueno. Wow. Ewy. You know what I think it's time for? I think it's time for a bonk stick. I haven't used a bonk stick in a while. If I don't use an amulet over here, I'm fine. All right. Learn my lower back and hips are way out of alignment. Old. Mistakes were made, mistakes were made, mistakes were made. If I'm on strictly stair duty at work and minimize work, walking does not stress my legs and hip. Yeah. Oof. Button does not press from this side. Yes, it sounds like it. Bunk stick. My dad was smart today. He goes, "You should have watched your steps in the shower." I did. It went plunk. Got stuck. Ouch. Oh, thanks for making that mistake. You know, Banshee, what you should have done is said cannonball first. Bonk. The more I think about it, the more I wonder how that was physically possible. Well, you were in pain. So it wasn't the intended way to be. Oh. Would you look at that? As the door is open. Which means this is the right way. Wait. Oh, I missed. Four. Now, like, how I got stuck in the first place, you wouldn't think I would have fallen out of the shower, but nope. Defied physics, end up in the tub awkwardly. Leave it to me to do the impossible. Well, clearly it's not impossible if you did it. Maybe leave it to you to do the improbable. Oh, what? This dude is wicked at metal concerts. Or she, whichever. Whip it. And whip it good. Fake streamer? What do you mean? What? I said it's bonk time. I'm going to use... And look, there are little blades into this. See that? See all those little points? See, this is why you and I are friends. Yes. Omi Dahama. I want the same way. Oh yeah. Dur, 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 dur. Dur, dur, dur. Oh. I think the term is neurodivergent. I don't know. I got called that yesterday, and I kind of was like, huh. Like, I wasn't mad about it, it was just like, wait. What? Like, it was meant to be a compliment, not as a any kind of sideways, left-handed, you know, underhanded no. And that's unupgraded. Sir, you fell out of the sky. Ow! I'm trying to heal here, sir. By the way, there's a mod coming for this game. I want to play with you once it's finished. Is it seamless co-op? What? It's like I knew about seamless co-op because it was originally an Elden Ring, and then they made it for Armored Core. Yeah, you didn't know it was an Armored Core? Bruh. Dude, Armored Core 6 has it. It's so good. Well, okay, I haven't played the mod, but Armored Core 6 is so good. There's a guy that I used to follow that was hosting tournaments for Armored Core. Striker Hatusa. Man, it took me a minute. I didn't play Daemon X Machina. I didn't. I was told that I should, but I didn't. I think Famajack was the one that told me I need to play it. He goes by Stronghold Central nowadays. Wait, Striker changed? Striker changed his name? Is that... See, okay. This is nothing aimed at him. It drives me nuts when people change their names, like, drastically. Because I gotta figure out, okay, who are you again? Yeah, but, okay. You still had Uncle in your name. But you didn't, like, drastically change it. Like, okay, here would be an example. Imagine my name, Crimson Blades, and I all of a sudden went by the name, say something like Fallen Maverick. I don't know. Does that have anything to do with the other? Someone told me to change mine. Why? I just got staggered. Like that. I couldn't move. Wow. Banshee. Banshee. Did you scream at them? They just said it. Thank you for your input. It'll be going into the ignore pile. Actually, I don't know how much ergo I lost. No, that's not right. That's the wrong attitude. Oh. Oh yeah, everyone. Yeah, but you know, you're doing that intentionally. I wish you wouldn't, but... Yeah, most people want to. Most people want to take a much more. What's the word I want to use here? Innuendo route with it. Yeah, that dude's definitely dead. Nailed it. That's just straight, yeah, right? Yes. I'll let you out, but I can't. Oh! Oh. It's a very small bit. Oh, nope, nope, nope. I mean, we are technically playing a game, Todd. Yeah, it's a little too close. Hmm. Frost-covered instructions.
No! Mercy! Please, don't kill me. Please.
Hey.
See the legendary stalkers. Just let me here. Oh, I'm not an alchemist. Spare me. Spare my life. Please, please.
What are you doing?
We came in with Veronique. Yes, and we were a vanguard. But it was a trap. The alchemists were waiting in ambush. The things they did. But that's over. They're gone, aren't they? Everything's wrong. What strange drugs did they fill me with? Don't deny it. It is slow, but strange. I will become a monster. I heard she was looking for someone. I heard it. I did. To think I tried to kill her. The legend herself. Twice. What an idiot I am. Good thing I failed. Failed twice. I never could. I wanted to, but no, I'm sorry. A stalker. Gone. But still, she went deeper into the laboratory. I have seen such things. My fellow vanguard. Oh, monsters all. Please, I don't want to die. No, help me, please.
Wait, what?
Spare me. Spare. I have seen. Help me.
Oh, I'm trying to help him. Tried. Ah, there we go. Legion amulet? Sure. No! My favorite weapon's slightly heavy. That is very sad. I like that one. I'm back. Oh, honey, are you looking? I know you're busy doing a couple things, but... Boy, the doors are open. Oh, I'm on the other side. Okay. Button does not press from the side. Okay, check this out. So you remember the gang that I fought? The Black Rabbit guys? This was the Spear guy's helmet. That was the girl that had the two... It ended up getting the fox mask. And the black cat mask. Actually, this one matches really well. Matches really well with it. It was that one. But yeah, this is the... Yeah, I did too. I really like the red one. This just, I don't know. I really like this one. I don't know why. I like this one, I think, the most still. This one's good. Matches the arm really well. This one's okay. Do not. Eh. It's okay. I like that one. I like it. It's alright. It's alright. Yes. 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 It's alright. Alright. Yep. Yup. It's alright. I still like this one probably the most. Yeah, this is good. I am currently... I'm currently going after the legendary stalker. Yeah, you had to have. It's a cutscene one that you get. No. If I told you the cutscene, do you think it would help? Oh, so when you're in Krat Zoo, bless you, you're going to the blood tree that's there. There's all these red candles that you walk through, and then there's a cutscene where she finds this jacket. Well, it's not this exact one, but there's a blue jacket that has a medallion that has a big M on it. I'm gonna shut that off.
Spare me. I see. Get this. Help me.
Yeah, this is DLC. Huh? There's got to be something that I'm missing to turn off that frost. Elementary, my dear Crimson. Yeah, Nobunaga bought the DLC and was like, here, you're gonna play the DLC. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Can't really argue with people when they spend money. Yeah, because also what I gotta do is I have to figure out how to get back. You punk. Hey. Where'd you go? Ah. Dang it. Oh well. It's honestly, it's worth it. There's one boss fight that I did. That alone was worth it. That boss fight was super fun. Ow. Why does a rock have shock on it? It's a metal ball, I suppose. That's gonna hurt. Come on. Oh, it's a shocking huge metal ball. Yeah. Yes, it is. All right, let's see here. Oh, he died.
It's really sad. But there wasn't any way to save him.
Wait. This is heavier than this? Oh. With a broomstick? What? Yeah, he is having a ball. Oh. Okay, that was a sweet combo. Okay, or don't do the backstab, that's fine. Who wants the backstab? That's gonna hurt. I was like, yeah, it's gonna hurt. So I saw that like charge there. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna do me in. Yep, the old ball and chain. I could. There's no stick. It's a chain. All right. Now. Oh, psh. That doesn't do me any good. Unchained melody of whoopings. Not bad. Ow. See, it's so hard. Oh, come on. There we go. Like a record. Oh. No. Maybe. Whew. Yeesh. uh. I was trying to figure out why the text on the screen was blurry. Forgot I took off my glasses. Dork. Okay, I'm holding out. Now what? The same thing 5 minutes ago. Well, here, let me put my glasses on.
What exactly are the alchemists researching anyway? It has to be for a cure. How else could they justify such horrifying deeds? Oh, I want to forget what we saw, but I can't.
Fine. Guess I'm not funny anymore. You guys get to make all the puns. It's on you now. It's on you guys. Oh.
Veronique? Something insane. Leia could be facing off against her this very moment.
What do you mean,
I'd
married
better
to
get
Disney
help her.
princess?
Let's hurry.
Oh. It was like, don't you lie. There's not much you wouldn't do for food either. Yeah. Easy bribe. Ooh, ancient disc. Oh, nice. Ah. Yeah, right. I was thinking the same thing. I just and then just fell off. Oh no. He did say wait for me. Huh. Oh wait. See, that's different, Nobunaga. Your cats will kill you if you don't. Locations are open.
My mind is unraveling. All left alive will freeze here. This
Oh.
is where we die.
Hello. I'm stuck. Okay.
No. We must hold on.
Okay. She fast.
Alchemist bastard! What did your drugs do to me?
Man, she's cool.
Alchemist bastard! What did your drugs do to me?
Woo!
No. We must hold on. I am indomitable. Bear the pain, Veronique. Never surrender.
Oh, that is so cool.
Leave this laboratory for the sake of Krat.
Okay, this is cool. All right, let me see here. Let me think. I didn't expect that to be a boss room. I wasn't exactly in the mindset to fight a boss yet. I just walked in again. Let's see here. What? Let's see here. Let me think. What weapon do I want to use here? You mean hot? Yeah. Using strike stuff. Okay. Oh, wait. Gives me more weight to work with. Alright, let's do this.
My mind's ablaze! Make it stop!
Woo! That was good.
I must hold on! I must hold on!
Man. Yeah, I was stuck in the wall. Okay,
Krat.
Do I play this one slow? Okay. I got the tell on it now. I think I figured it out.
I must hold on!
The parry window is on the light or the fire.
I must hold on! I must hold on!
There's 1,000 damage.
Veronique! Don't give up! Don't give in!
That is sick. Really paid for that one. Really paid for that.
Will never surrender!
That was my last heal. Mom. Come on. Not perfect.
Don't lose reason, Veronique. Don't give up. Don't give in. Leave this laboratory for the sake of Krat.
Let's see here. I definitely don't have the timing down for that.
All left alive will freeze
Oh, dang it. Dang it.
For the sake of Krat.
I swear Jack White has rolled up on the stage the exact outfit without the horns. What? I'm Manic. Looking at your character model and 7 notions or 7 Nation Army plays in my head.
It burns! My mind's ablaze! Make it stop!
I'm sorry. We're actually talking about you tonight.
What did your drugs do to me?
Alright, I've got to figure that out.
Alchemist bastard! What did your drugs do to me?
How did I get the backstab on that?
I am indomitable! Bear the pain, Veronique! Never surrender!
Oh, I pressed the wrong button. That's gonna mess me up. Dang it. There we go. Much better.
I am indomitable! Bear the pain, Veronique! Never surrender!
Such a sweet boss. Oh, I missed.
Don't breathe, Veronique! Don't give in! Not to
I'm using that. Alright, there's the hammer broken. Oh, come on. No, 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 no. Whew.
Never give in.
Oh, good. You're not dead.
I did terrible things to you.
Yay! Beat her.
Drug. Their cure. It twisted my mind. I put you in
Bye,
danger.
Nobunaga.
I'm sorry. Please, I beg of you. Nothing must leave this place. This cursed lab. Those cursed beings. Their test subject. Created from the legacy of the ruins. The two-faced overseer. It cannot be allowed to live. Do me this one last favor. If you mean that red-headed stalker, she did pass through here. Back when I could still think straight. We were rivals once. In the end, she showed true compassion. I'm done. Head to the coast. Find Leia.
So,
I die as I lived, without regret. Remember me, Veronique of Krat.
I'm totally wearing that armor. Good night, Vac. I'm gonna go get that hammer.
I cannot believe my eyes. You found one of my discs. I'm touched. Truly. Collecting may seem a silly thing to you, but this simple act connects me deeply to the larger world. Just imagine, who were the ancient beings who engraved these discs? Did they worship a god, curse a devil? Or had they endured dark times as we have and sought the solace of an angel? Imagining others reaching the light after a dark night gives me hope this nightmare will end. Now, if you find more discs, I will offer you other valuable rewards in exchange. Well met, Master Storm.
Wait. Oh, I don't get that hammer, huh? I did get a pretty sweet cosmetic armor set. It's a great place. I think I'm going to end it. That's great. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. I really appreciate it. This song is so good. Manic, Banshee, Vac, Avi. Oh, my wife's coming. Thank you guys, honestly. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm sorry streams have been so sporadic. I do mean this. I am trying to find a job comparable to what I'm doing now that has better hours. If you guys saw what I was talking about earlier with my hours all over the place. So thank you guys for coming back, even though I've been inconsistent. This song is so good. I've never had the desire to want to learn to play the accordion, but dang. Tug, I think, tonight. What's he playing? Oh, he's playing Super Mario Bros. Okay. So that everyone here can be included. There we go. All right, guys. Love you guys. Mean it. I think I have to close Thursday night, so I don't think I'm streaming this Thursday. Hopefully it'll be soon. Hopefully it'll be soon. Love you guys. Mean it. Good night.